everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. And today we are reviewing the next two episodes, episodes 3 and 4 of King of the Hill.
Season 14.
Season 14.
Season 14.
Okay, well the third episode is called Bobby Gets Grilled.
Now, I think that so far the season it's continuing in the fact that it really feels like it's like every episode is like a bite-sized experience, and when you watch multiple episodes together, it kind of runs together like a movie. Like, it's like a binge show. Like, that's almost like how it's designed, and that's probably one of my negatives about it, is because the old episodes, they felt very complete by themselves. But still, I would say episode 3, it might be my favorite one so far, because I liked the story, and I thought that it was more, like, fun, and it felt like the old show more. But the second episode was a lot funnier. The beer episode. And then the fourth one, I thought the fourth one was pretty good too. You know, I think both of them were pretty damn good. And, you know, I really enjoy watching King of the Hill. There are some things that really irritate me about both episodes, but overall, I liked both. You know, I don't know about Safi, though. You know, Safi probably, you know, who knows with Safi.
I liked them, but I thought they were a little more serious than before in certain places.
Oh.
But maybe I'm just wrong. But
what do you think?
For example, is it the first one, the Bobby Gets Grilled? Yeah. You know, it's the thing where, you know, remember, he's all about propane. I wish I'd written this quote that Bobby tells. What happens is Bobby has his own restaurant, and they use a special charcoal. And in order to do this ethnic experience of cooking the food, you have to cook it on this charcoal.
Yeah. And
so, of course, Dad has said, "Oh, I'll set you up with working on the propane. I'll get her," and you know he could do it, and he'd do a good job. But Bobby doesn't want to do that, and he doesn't really ever come out and tell his father that he doesn't cook with propane. He cooks with this special charcoal.
No, he tells him when they finally meet at the restaurant.
Right. He didn't tell him in advance. I knew this was going to happen, because when he came in, and he was looking forward to looking at his propane setup, and I knew it wasn't going to be there. Nothing even had to be said. You knew that Bobby. And I don't know anything about using special charcoal. I didn't know anything about that, and I don't even know if that's true.
I don't know.
But since it's Texas, and if this Texas has a thing about propane, I could see him cooking the food with propane, because it's a Texas thing. They're in Texas, and he would just be adapting his ethnic cooking with using propane. But anyway, that isn't how the episode started out.
Well, I think, you know, this show, first off, I want to know Safi's opinion on what does Safi think about the whole bite-sized thing. Like, doesn't it feel like these episodes, like, they're like very bite-sized in the way that you just kind of watch them, and they go really fast.
They do go very fast.
And they don't really feel as, like, complete as the older episodes. That, you know, those felt a lot more, like, beefy and kind of, like, mature. And these kind of feel more like, you know, like, bite-sized, like, comedy episodes.
Well,
and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's just different.
I just feel like they're testing the waters.
Oh, okay.
That's what I feel like. I don't know about bite-sized or whatever, but I feel like they're testing to see how their ideas, because these ideas have been floating in their heads for a while.
Yeah.
You have adults who make this show, and I bet they've experienced some of this stuff, and they want to see what it looks like with Hank and Bobby and Peggy, etc. And I feel like they're testing the waters, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, to me, you're not watching Beavis and Butthead. I kind of dip on and off because, I don't know, for some reason, whenever I reviewed episodes of the recent seasons, I would get sick after watching the episodes, and so I don't like watching that show. But those episodes are very bite-sized too, and it's because, in Beavis and Butthead, halfway through, they'll start reacting to, like, modern videos. Like, they'll react to music videos and stuff. And that takes up, like, the whole middle of the episode. So the story parts, they're very bite-sized. And so that's what I'm saying, like, it's like bite-sized stories because... And maybe we should just get into Hank's story in this episode because that was, in my opinion, the weakest story so far.
Well, I just want to say this one thing, and that is, the only thing I can think of is the reason that they would feel like that to you is because last time when the show was on, you only saw one episode a week. But this was released all together. And they may have made these episodes so... What is the deal?
You're missing the part where we have all the episodes of King of the Hill, and when we watched
when they first came out.
No. But I didn't really watch it back then.
Oh.
It doesn't matter anyways because when we watched it, we would limit ourselves to like one a day, one a week, and they felt very, very full. They felt beefy, full. They felt like complete stories for the most part. But these episodes, they kind of skip over stuff. Like the thing with the first episode where Bill was like 500 pounds, and then the next episode he's just like he always was. That's what I mean by bite size. It's like they're trimming out parts of the story. They're trimming down the stories, and it's not to the show's benefit. Because the show was never like a bite-sized, like a 25-minute comedy. It was always like a full show.
Okay.
Felt full. Safi.
Well,
I think I just destroyed Safi.
The only thing I can think of is, despite that, when they originally aired, they aired once a week.
Okay, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
But the way they're made... Maybe they're made more complete than originally.
There's only 10 episodes, Safi.
How about before? How many were in a season?
A lot more.
21?
Probably, yeah.
Well, who knows? That's just that. Okay, let's just get into the story.
Okay, so Hank's story is that him, Peggy, Dale, and Nancy are going to have a special dinner at Bobby's new restaurant. But first, they're going to stop at the George W. Bush Museum, which it's really hilarious because there's basically nothing in there that's, worth anything. There's like a pen, there's like a baseball and shit.
And I don't know if that's really true or not.
Probably not.
That might be an exaggeration. I mean, he did receive foreign visitors. He did go out of the country, and I didn't like him, and I never would have voted for him, but still, to me, I just think that was parody.
I thought that, they released that as a clip, some of that part. They released that as a clip before the show came out.
I didn't see it.
It feels like a clip, the whole story, because it's basically, like, very repetitive. Like, Hank really likes everything, and then all the other people around, they are all like Dale, to where they're more...
conspiracy theorist oriented.
Not like that, but they're more questioning of the government and of history, of the official bullshit story. But Dale is obviously the extreme. And so a lot of this story is just him, and his little commentary on all the museum. And to me, this feels like it could be its own episode if treated properly in some way. But it's so trimmed. It's so small. Because eventually they get put in this fake, like, war room and they're going to reenact the 2008 crisis, and Hank gets to play president, and you're thinking, this would be an A-plus episode of the old show. But because it's so trimmed and it's so small, I mean, eventually what happens is, probably my favorite part of the episode is Dale, I think it's Dale, he throws his shoe at Hank. You know, like how George W. Bush got shoes thrown at him. And so...
it was in a place where when you throw a shoe at somebody, that is an insult. And so, of course, that is not like that funny in our culture, but it was there.
I like that a lot. But the story, it just cuts off. There's no resolution. It literally just cuts off. And it's like, why would you do that to this story? It could have been its own whole episode. Right?
Yeah, I
like,
think so.
You think about, like, there could have been character arcs. There could have been interesting things that happen. All sorts of stuff. But the way that it's treated, it's like, okay, we got to trim everything down, and let's just cut this off. We can just use it so that Hank can use it as like this stupid after-school special lesson at the end, which, you know, they just cut from that to Hank and all the others being at the dinner at the end of the episode. It was so jarring, and it was so obviously, like, incomplete.
Well, was that the show where last week did I say that they had a kumbaya moment at the end?
That was the beer episode.
Okay, so in this one,
they did
I would
it
call
again.
that a kumbaya moment at the end of this one too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. I don't know. Just see, Marco's a lot more familiar with the show. I did see it all, but he saw it more than once.
They did that, but it wasn't every episode.
No, I was going to ask you when they show, did they ever feature the other characters where it's mainly about them and didn't show much of Hank and Peg, and Bobby was a kid, so I don't think he would have been in every episode. Or did they?
Oh, he was in every episode.
He was. Okay, well, did they incorporate?
They did have
as much as of them and like they did in this episode.
I don't know what you mean, because
Dale. I mean, you said that they could have made this all about Dale and conspiracy.
No. They could have made the museum story its own episode.
Oh.
They could have fleshed that out and had a bunch of stuff happen.
They really could.
And it could have been its own episode, but because they just wanted it to be like a side story that they trimmed out, like, that's a thing in TV shows that they do called the B story. There's an A story and then there's a B story that you can cut to. And this is another issue I have, is that Hank being retired is bad.
Marco does not like it. And I don't care for it either, because as an older person myself, and they're a lot younger, I believe, than I am, they're too young to retire. And I just wonder how long, if this is really going to last, because it's really been, at least for these 2 episodes now, and well, for the other ones, they go on and on about this retirement. And I mean, we can talk about it more, but I just don't believe it. Both of them actually. I don't. I would just focus on him. He wants to work, and he doesn't feel right. He's used to getting up in the morning, and he wants to do stuff. So he did this before. I remember he would do stuff around the house. He's constantly having to fix things, making it run smoother, or there's something stuck, or something loose, or whatever. He's always fixing stuff, and so it's the same thing here. But this episode was more about, well, he did want to set up that propane cooking setup in his son's restaurant, but it was mainly about Bobby and the charcoal and the whole thing, which we'll talk about. But anyway, so I have a problem with it, and that I think they're too young to be retired.
It feels like there's a void, and it feels like in every episode they're like, uh-oh, we got to find something for Hank to do. That's the feeling.
He's always doing, and I don't see how they're going to sustain that, because I don't know. I will have to see what happens. But I mean, you're thinking about it long run, I just don't see it. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, go ahead. So they're at the museum. Actually, they did stop at the restaurant.
I already went through that. I
didn't say that.
No, I went through the museum story.
I know, but before they went to the museum, they did stop at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Hank just wanted to see the propane setup. He just couldn't help himself. And you knew, and I know, and I knew that there wasn't going to be any propane setup. And so while they're at the museum, they, like Marco said, they have this B story and the A story. While they're doing these little shenanigans at the museum, or Dale is, and questioning every single thing he sees and hears, we have the story of the charcoal. And this is where I don't know, I'll have to look up, but I've never heard of that, where some kind of special charcoal is used to make a certain kind of cooking. So
it's kind of ridiculous to me. It's like, you can't make an authentic pizza unless you cook it in Italy or something.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's just stupid. It's dumb. It's very, very, like, backward. And, that's what this whole episode is it's kind of like a meta-commentary on how backward, these stupid arguments about cultural appropriation are. Because Bobby wants to order more charcoal from this Japanese place, and the guy in charge, he refuses because Bobby is a white guy. It's flat out racial discrimination.
But then he goes there. Bobby goes there because actually he is really, they have made him so grown up.
Yeah.
Have so much common sense, so gentlemanly, so smart.
He feels
very
like
smart.
A young Hank in the best possible way.
He's really good. Anyway, so he goes there, and he wants to talk to them and try to convince them. And he brings his chef, one of the chefs, or whatever the guy is, but I guess they both work together. And then they find out that the guy is African American, who was adopted by a Japanese family.
So he says,
and lived in Japan.
He says, I'm Japanese. And it's like, no, you're not.
And the guy who's with Bobby is African American. So he's like, what the hell is going on here? And they don't believe him when he says, I'm Mr. What was his name? Mr. Yoshida. His name is Mr. Yoshida. And they go, where's Mr. Yoshida? You're not Mr. Yoshida.
Yeah.
And he's using, yes, I am. I was born in Japan. And, blah, blah, blah. And
it's very silly. It's very backward. And it's
really weird.
It's very racist.
But then they have another thing.
They have...
This is all while they're at that museum, too. This is all happening.
Yeah, the guy, he creates a flyer that says that Bobby is a cultural appropriator, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
And he's giving those flyers out to people so that they know, like, oh, how dare he have a Japanese-German fusion restaurant? How dare he do that? And then he goes to this pizza place, and they're going to give him the information of like another coal supplier if he'll switch leases with them, which is just...
They're kind of representative of mafia people.
Yeah, that was funny.
They're putting the squeeze on them. They're saying, well, yeah, we'll do it if you give us your lease, and we'll give you a little one down in the town somewhere.
They were being very stereotypical.
Like The Godfather or something.
And it was really smart commentary of like how, all the culture stuff and stuff like that. Like it was really
they're all banging heads. Basically.
It was silly. Yeah.
But he didn't, Bobby is so, they have him so grown up and so even-tempered and so sensible that he was able to diffuse it. And they didn't even show him anymore, except they were probably at that dinner at the end.
There was even a scene where him and Joseph were talking, and Joseph says that he's a white guy. so he can't even dress up as Speedy Gonzales for Halloween anymore. And obviously, he's Native American. You know, he's half Native American, and he's saying that he's a white guy, and but it also, they brought in the issue, which will come up later in the season, actually in this episode, because Ted Wasanasong, he is not voiced by a white actor anymore, a white voice actor. He is voiced by an Asian one. And so his voice sounds terrible. He sounds nothing like the character. And so it's unfortunate, because the commentary in this episode about all this segregation crap and the cultural appropriation crap, all of it is undercut by the fact that the people who make the show, they replaced the white voice actor because of the stupid bullshit that no one cares about. Literally, no one cares about.
When they listen to a voice, they get used to a voice. That's the voice they know.
It's called voice acting.
They don't see the person. They just listen.
It's called voice acting. It's not called... and they even make fun of it. They say... the one guy, he says that, you know, that one actor, he stole the roles of, like, farm animals. He stole the voice acting roles of farm animals, like Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. Like,
that's right.
He stole those roles from animals, and it's like, that's how silly it is. It's like, oh, you want to voice an alien? Well, are you an alien? No. Well, you can't voice that then. You know, and apparently there is a guy, he's some sort of a stupid Asian YouTuber who makes shitty, like, you know, nonsense videos, and he made a big deal about how, like, Asian people don't get to do voice acting roles, which is just completely retarded. And so that's why they started segregating voice acting roles. And then what happened? You know what happened?
Wow.
He wanted to voice a white character, and they said, no, you cannot do that because you're not white. What? And so now his own complaints have come back to bite him and make him out to be a fucking retard. And so...
It'll make him look foolish.
Well, but it's the bad thing, though, is that they're still doing that. They're segregating voice actors.
That's dumb.
And, you know, Ted Wasanasong, he sounds terrible. He sounds nothing like he's supposed to sound like. And so that's another big issue I have with the show. And it's also a problem for Khan, but we have not seen him on the show yet.
Okay. Well, so then we have another issue that came up.
The Germans.
The Germans. I never heard that his restaurant was based on anything related to Germany. I must have missed that.
Yeah, he did. He said it's German-Japanese fusion.
Yeah, in the end, right?
No, all along.
Anyway, I missed that somehow. But anyway, these 3 German people come in, and they found out about this complaint about misappropriation. And they said, if we want to eat your food and we want to come to our own conclusion, and if it's good, we won't do anything, but if it's not, we're going to tell everybody you're a fake.
No.
Something like that.
Before that, they're so racist, and this is how bad it is. They said, are you racially pure?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow. That's, like... You would never say.
That means in the United States of America.
Are you racially pure? You're cooking a German dish. Are you racially pure? Like F you. And then there's also there was another thing I think that you didn't mention. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, one of the German people is one of the people that Cotton, his ancestor was killed by Cotton.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I thought that was great. That was one of my favorite things of the episode and of the series so far. Or season, not the whole series. But yeah. But then, Safi, you talk about the rest. You talk about the good part.
There's only... it's the thing is... Bobby is like, what the hell? I can't win. And so then he comes up. See this is what I'm saying, that he is so smart and even-tempered, and he decides he has only one more box of this special charcoal. So he is going to make his specialty, and that other guy is going to cook too. The African American, I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
Well, I think what's really interesting. This is why I said in the last video that I think that they're trying to use Bobby's restaurant to fill in the void of Hank's work, because the guy who plays the African American guy, I think that he is the voice actor who played Enrique in the original series. He was the Mexican guy who did the at the propane company. And so I think that was the guy that was like Hank's right-hand man. And so now he's Bobby's right-hand man. I think their voices sound kind of alike,
That's what I mean. I mean, Mark was just telling you right now, he remembers the hearing.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I just got through reading an audiobook yesterday. And it's a Cornwall British mystery series. But anyway, you get used to a person talking. And of course, these are multiple. This is a whole cast. And if there's somebody different, you can tell. If you remember everything, you can tell they have distinctive voice. So, but anyway, he says, you know what? This is my restaurant, my cooking. So he invites all these naysayers and his family, who were already invited anyway for dinner, and Dale and Nancy.
He also uses the last box of Japanese charcoal to make this meal.
And so he has Mr. Yoshida. He probably has some mafia guys. I don't know.
I don't think he did.
Okay, well, they may have been there. I don't know. Then the German people. And he just closes the restaurant, and he just invites all of these people into a room, and he and the other guy make this food, and it is good food, and so everybody loves it. But of course, Hank, because it wasn't cooked with propane, in fact, when he was at the museum, another thing besides all the stupid conspiracy crap and things about Bush, which I think was kind of a parody, really. But anyway, he couldn't help think about his son not doing the propane. And even Bobby said this quote. I wish I would have written it down, but there's one thing there's 4 things that my dad cares about. That's Texas, me and my mom, and propane or something. Or,
There's one thing that Safi cares about: taking a nap.
Because I don't get good sleep. Anyway, so they have this dinner. Everybody loves the food, but Hank is like, he just won't do it, and they all say, what's the matter with you? We'll eat your food if you don't want to eat it.
He's the last one, too. He's the last one to take a bite.
He is, and he loves it. And so at the end, and I don't think he admitted in front of everybody, I think it's when they were together
he pulls him aside, and he talks about how, today I went to the museum, and there's all this stuff that happened that connects to this plot, and so now I have a different opinion, and I should, like your food. It's like
he said that they didn't have propane in the 17th century, and I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? And so they cooked with charcoal then, so, I'll accept it because, I know you can cook with that if you want, because, that's what they did originally or something. He said it more comical and interesting than that, but anyway. And so, like I said, it was a kumbaya.
It felt exactly like episode 2, that little speech.
The kumbaya moment.
And so I give that episode an A, because I just love watching Bobby. I love his restaurant stuff. I just think that the big flaw is the side stuff with Hank at the museum, because it's like, we got to find something for Hank to do, and the story that they found, it should have been its own episode. It could have been really good. Like, they could have made that like a Father's Day thing. Like, Bobby takes Hank to the museum, a bunch of shit happens. Could have been really good.
Okay, we'll start the next, and I'll give the same, in thinking about it, going over it. I did like this episode too, so I'll give it an A. But I think, to me, it's really more serious than it used to be. It's not, and I'm not saying it's not funny because it's bad. It's just, it seems like they're focusing on serious issues in a light way. But anyway, the next one is called Chore Problems. Now, Chore, like we just said when we opened up this review about Hank retiring, he doesn't like sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
He likes to keep busy.
So that was at the center of this episode,
yes,
though.
It is.
It was the story of the episode, so I appreciated that.
And his wife is sitting there watching this shitty show, and as they're doing that, Boomhauer dings the bell on the door, and he wants to borrow a screwdriver, the electric screwdriver, the battery operated one, or something, and Hank actually has like 4 kinds. And so he wants to escape this TV watching because it's a stupid show. And so he leaves with Boomhauer. And Boomhauer is kind of like, he belongs to this chore business where it's kind of like door dashing in a way, only you're ordering somebody to do a chore, like, let's say mow the lawn or fix the door or whatever. And you, what did they call it?
Chore monkey.
Chore monkey. And then if you do a good job with the chore, you get a banana. And of course, the best banana or the best job is you get 4 or 5 bananas, 4 or 5 stars on a review. And
so it's like DoorDash, but for chores and a lot more personal.
Right.
Because you have to interact with the owners.
And you can go inside the house.
Boomhauer is talking up the owners while Hank is doing all the work. And so they're getting 5-star reviews, and it's kind of like a parasitic relationship, where Hank gets to do chores and Boomhauer gets to get the money and the ratings, because I don't know what else Boomhauer does, and I don't know where that kid is that he had.
That's right, they didn't even show him.
They didn't show his kid, but eventually Boomhauer gets injured, and so Hank has to take over, and so this is where he gets a problem, is because he doesn't want to open up and talk to the homeowner about any of this personal stuff, which, to be honest, Hank made a good point. I'm not there to talk about personal matters. I'm there to do a job. And it's like, that is very true, but...
And also too, that, if you're so busy talking to the people, 1, you're not going to get the job done, and 2, it might not be done as well, because you're not concentrating completely on the chore.
Yeah. So, and they only used 1 couple, and it's really funny and kind of cringe-worthy at first, because Hank actually goes back to the people who gave him a bad rating.
They gave him 2 bananas.
He's like, "Hello there. I want to make up for my service yesterday. Is there anything I can do?" It's really, really funny, because it's so, old-fashioned. If Safi, tell the audience about our Centerville corn dog order that we got a 1-star review on for DoorDash a long time ago.
Well, it was after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that's called Black Friday. What happens on Black Friday? It's very busy outside. People are off work.
Racial things.
They have a day off because it's the day after Thanksgiving, and they're out shopping. So we live a long way from there, and you can get there. You don't have to take a highway. The highway wouldn't have made any difference. It was so crowded, and there was so much traffic. Somebody orders a corn dog from we live really close to all of these restaurants.
30 minutes away.
And they order effing corn dog.
And corn dogs and a Diet Coke.
And so we get there, but we had to go through all this traffic, and they complained.
Yeah, it was 30 minutes, and I did everything she asked me to do. I left it outside the door. I didn't knock. I didn't, message her or anything. And
People give special instructions. That's what he's talking about.
She gave us a 1-star review because it arrived 30 minutes later. Not 30 minutes later than the delivery time, but only 15 minutes later. And so,
They were fighting traffic. It was really bad. It was bumper to bumper traffic.
We actually disputed her negative review, and we won. So, that's the reality of things, is that when you have these kind of, I would call them like unprofessional people, they get fucked. Because, like, Hank made the right point, like, I'm not there to talk to them, I'm there to do a job. Even though, like, that's what they want, it's like, well, then you can, find some other people to talk to or something. Like, that's not what, he's there to do. But it was really just all about getting Hank to open up about his feelings about retirement with his wife. And I will say, an issue I have, and I think that this is a big flaw with the show, just like with Bill's physical transformation, there's a lot of telling and not showing. And Peggy says, I spent the entire day watching like a 12-hour marathon of this reality show, and I didn't want that to be retirement and all this stuff. And it's like, that was good, but we should have seen that with our eyes. We could have seen that in a montage. Cut away from Hank's story. And Bobby had a story we'll talk about, but cut away from that and show Peggy watching the TV.
This was story A, meaning this was the bigger story.
Yeah.
And Bobby, I believe, was the lesser story and shorter story.
I think it's really funny because, I'm doing a show, and we'll be, Safi will be helping with it. We'll have another meeting this Saturday. And, I think it's really easy when you do the A story and the B story. It's so much easier when you have a family, because you can just, switch between different family members like the show is doing. Whereas in other shows, you have to switch between all these different people, and it's really hard and tricky. And, yeah.
But,
like in A Better Call Saul, you have Jimmy, Kim, Mike, and Nacho, and Gus. You got to switch between all those different people. It's really, really hard. But, Safi, finish Hank's story and say what you think.
Well, I don't know. He started talking to the people, but they were a young couple. They just had a baby, and they're like YouTubers, and they have a podcast. And so they talk about on the podcast, I guess they've been talking about the pregnancy, and they're not getting any sleep. They're having she's having problems nursing, and she wants to nurse, and Hank is like the last person who it's very private stuff. And it really, and like, how can he's so embarrassed. He can hardly, he feels like he can hardly get his job done, and that's why they were unhappy, because Peg told them after watching the show, she said, I don't know how she got from the show, but they talked all the time, and she said it isn't totally about the chore, it's about, they wanted you to listen to their problems or something, and maybe give some input. He says, well, I can't do this. I'm not like that. I'm just there to do the chore. But anyway, he took her advice, and she got, and he said all this stuff about nursing and her.
I did like how Peggy helped him solve his problem, because usually she is just complete trash. She doesn't know how to solve anything. I
don't like her.
She's usually a disaster in the old show. So I like the fact that she helped Hank guide him into doing what was right. But then at the end, it's all about how he has to open up to her about retirement, and then they have a little kumbaya moment. But it's less like played up. than the last 2 episodes.
But I think it was interesting, too, that he listened to her and talked to those people, even though he really wasn't into it. He just tried his best, which he did well and adapted. And so they gave him all the bananas for a review. In fact, it got like a 5-star review in a way. Only it was a 5 banana or whatever it is. So, then we have the story. This is story number 2 with Bobby.
Booby.
And Bobby likes.
He likes Connie, even though she's turned out to be a total slut.
She's not a slut.
She is.
I don't think so.
She's a total whore.
Why do you say that?
She's really easy. She's basically like a hooker.
Okay, Marco's bullshitting.
No, I'm not.
I don't believe
No, I'm not. In the last episode, or the first episode, she talked about how she doesn't like monogamous relationships, and she slept with a whole fraternity. So that's a whore. That's a slut, Safi.
Well, she's interested in, I guess. She doesn't really seem that interested in because she complains about him. Chang.
Yeah, she's dating him. She's dating Chang Wasana-song. I mean, ooh. But really, I will say this. Connie has turned out exactly how you would expect her to turn out because of her parents, because of Con being so strict, and because of her mom. But I think it's kind of sad because, back in the original show, they did learn a lot of good lessons, and, Con wasn't always a horrible father, but even though they did, do some good stuff for Connie, she still turned out in such a horrible way. And she's dating Chang, and Bobby still has a crush on her.
But he's very grown up about it.
Yeah, he's very soyish about it.
And he's supportive of her. And she complains about him, and he tries to mollify that by, telling her that, he feels he had a controlling father or something, and he's just trying to find himself, or I don't know, something. He was trying to be very diplomatic, and he did a really good job, and she accepted it.
Yeah.
Then she tries to hook him up with
this other character.
This woman.
And I'm so glad he didn't hook up with her.
And he didn't realize what was going on, and the woman just wanted to go have a one-night stand. She said that, too, something like that. And then that would be it. And he says, well, I'm not, what did he say? I'm not really into that kind of thing, but I appreciate meeting you. I mean, that's what I say. He's a real, he's very polite and very supportive.
He's the best character of the show now.
Yeah, and he's really smart. So, everything gets resolved, and he still loves Connie, or likes Connie, or whatever you want to call. I don't know what you want to call it. He's fascinated with her.
Well, eventually, she shows up at his apartment, and they have a little moment on the patio, or no, balcony. They have a moment on the balcony
and
together.
With them too.
No, Joseph.
Oh, it's Joseph. Sorry.
Joseph is the second best character. Him and Bobby, they are the best characters now, honestly.
And there's a couple. It's 2 people who are married to other people, and they meet in this apartment with the curtain open for all to see. All the neighbors. This is like an apartment house, and they're up on the upper floor, and so are they, I guess, or they're on the second floor. But they can see everything, and they have a title for it. It's like a TV show, and they're all laughing and watching them and making all these remarks, and that's the end of the show.
I would say that I'm glad because, even though Connie has turned out terrible, I think that her and Bobby should be together. I think that they make a great couple. I hated in the original show when they broke up. I thought it was terrible. It's one of the worst things about the original show to me. And so I'm glad that it seems like they're course correcting. They're not going to let her, be with Chang or something. And But overall, I would say I like this episode a little bit less than the last 2.
Yeah, me too.
I would give it. I can't remember what I gave the beer one. I think I gave it a B+.
Well, I'll give it a B. The chore thing I thought was an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if but it isn't. But I think they have a business now. I haven't really seen any commercial advertising for it, but I think they did have some kind of business like this, where you could hire some man to, and I say man because that's who they showed, okay, to do a chore if you needed help. And I don't know if they, and I don't remember the name of this was several years ago.
Is it Fiverr?
That doesn't sound right, but anyway. So this kind of thing may exist, but I haven't heard anything about it. You know, I was thinking 2 men in the truck, but that's moving.
It's handyman services.
So, yeah, but it's they had advertising on TV and everything, and I don't know if that's still. Maybe they went out of business, or they have so much business. Well, anyways,
is there anything else you want to say about these 2 King of the Hill episodes,
no,
or do you
want
want
to? Grade?
Oh yeah,
I gave it a B.
Well, it's tough because I don't think it's a B. I think it would be at least a B. I'll give it a B plus.
Well, I don't think it was as good as the other one.
Yeah, the beer one, or
even though I like the idea of this Chore thing and Boomhauer.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, the way he talks. I don't know how the guy does it, but I just think he's funny. I don't like even though I love the way Bobby is, I like the way they just made him so even-tempered and smart and supportive, and I don't care for the relationship thing, but we'll see.
Relationship thing?
Well, the thing with Connie. And
why?
I just don't care for it.
Why?
I don't know. But it ended up in this one. It ended up pretty good, you know. And that's why I say because of him and Joseph, you know, because they're so they're just very likable people. So they make it good. They make it better. So anyway. Anything else?
It's time to talk about Patreon! Safi!
No, I don't want to do that.
Damn it!
Marco is making...
We're making Patreon content pretty soon.
Well...
It's called the Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies Patreon. There's 3 tiers, $5, $10, or $25. And it's we're going to have all sorts of cool stuff on there. We're going to have behind the scenes filmmaking videos, deleted scenes, commentaries, full, director's cuts of projects that don't get released anywhere else. We're going to have movie reviews, TV reviews, commentaries of movies, TV, all sorts of crap. Safi, what else?
That's it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up.
What a terrible,
and become one of our subscribers. And how many do we have now?
723.
723 subscribers.
And counting.
And counting.
725 was the goal for the end of August, so I'm very, very close to hitting that, fortunately.
Okay. So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.